Hello, I'm Laura.
And I'm Huelya.
And together we are delighted to welcome you to the Gut Loving Podcast.
Hello.
And this is a brand new podcast all about IBS or irritable bowel syndrome and something called the low FODMAP diet. Just before we get started, a little side note is that both of us are in London in the UK. And so much of the information that we're going to be talking about to do with IBS is UK relevant, but it will be interesting to anyone who's got IBS. But we just wanted to let you know in case any of the foods that we end up talking about sound a little UK centric. So why did we start the Gut Loving podcast?
I'm a long-term IBS sufferer, and I have recently created a little company called Sezamee, Gut Loving Food. And what I've been doing since the beginning of the year, just a few months, that I'm kind of presenting like low FODMAP food for people that, you know, if you've ever heard of the low FODMAP diet, or if you are suffering from IBS, that you can freely eat those. Normally it's not possible outside your four walls, and what I've done is I've had some market stalls, events that I went to. I've had pop-up restaurants where people then came and could eat anything freely if they were suffering from IBS or heard of the low FODMAP diet. But it was also for people who don't have any problems really, so the food was kind of tailored for both audiences, but obviously with the view of helping people like myself who never have the chance to kind of go outside the four walls and say, without checking what's inside, I'm going to go for it and eat it freely.
Brill. So you have been making delicious low FODMAP food. And I'm a dietitian, and I've been working with people with IBS for about 5 years now. IBS and other gut conditions, and I've been specialising in the low FODMAP diet, which maybe you know about already, or you will do through the podcast, and which is a novel or a new type of diet which is specially developed to help manage the symptoms of IBS. And I've been working with the FODMAP diet and with people with IBS for quite a few years now, and realised that there's actually lots of confusion around diet and IBS and the FODMAP diet, and so and there's not much support really, is there? And so we met each other a few months ago and decided that it would be cool to team up and do some work together. So we started the Gut Loving Podcast to sort of provide some support and help people manage their condition and hopefully clear up some of the confusion around IBS. And for anyone who's interested in or already following the FODMAP diet, we're hoping that this podcast is going to be helpful, supportive and informative to help you get to grips with the diet and learn some tips along the way.
Exactly. And one of the biggest stumbling stones for me as a patient who's, just been prescribed the low FODMAP diet was that I was pretty much alone with that, and nobody talked about it. Nobody knew about what the low FODMAP diet was. I knew that I was diagnosed with IBS years and years ago, actually, but I never really took it seriously. And it got to a point where I couldn't really avoid the fact anymore that I have to do something, because it was just getting too painful and not manageable anymore. And I remembered the little leaflet that my dietitian gave me back then when they put me on the low FODMAP diet, and then I actually read through it, took it a little bit more seriously, and still found out that I was basically ready to go for it. And I was like, yes, I'm motivated, I want to tackle this, I want to follow the low FODMAP diet. But then I had to go back to the dietitian, obviously, because that's the recommended way. You should not start the low FODMAP diet on your own with your own kind of knowledge, what you see and read online maybe, because a lot of that information is very helpful, but there is a lot of information that is misleading, and you might end up kind of misdiagnosing yourself with something that is you've got no point in diagnosing yourself with it, because it's false information. And you might also think, I tried the low FODMAP diet. There were some articles online. I followed them, but the low FODMAP diet doesn't really work on me. You know, I think that's a classic that Laura, you kind of have come across as well.
Yeah, I think because the low FODMAP diet is getting recommended a lot now, what we're hoping is that by sort of giving you some extra information, you'll learn a bit more about it, which types of people with IBS it's helpful for, and also where you can go to get started with it to get the best results. And I think the other plus is that we're hoping that you're going to get both sides of the coin. So as a dietitian, I'm going to be giving you the science, not too much, don't worry, and explaining a bit more about the gut and how different foods affect IBS. Whilst Huelya is going to be talking about her experience as someone who's done the FODMAP diet,
and also as someone the ups and downs.
Yeah, the ups and downs. That's right. So less confusion, more supported advice, and lots of helpful tips to help you get to grips with IBS. So just before we finish for today, we're going to be splitting this podcast into 2 parts. So the first 8 to 10 episodes are going to be all about IBS and the gut. And if you know all about this already, if you kind of AFA with IBS and you just want to get stuck into the information about the FODMAP diet, you can just skip down the list. And then probably around episode 10, we're going to start talking about that. If by chance you feel that you're not really sure about IBS, you want to kind of find out a bit more, we're going to be going through what it is, how it's diagnosed, how you can work out what your IBS type is, and all that type of thing in the earlier episodes. So any questions that you have about the condition, what you've never thought about, you're also free to sort of get in touch with us, and we're going to put some show notes with the podcast, so it will tell you how you can send your questions in, and if there's anything else you want to know, feel free to sort of jump in and ask, but we hope you'll stick with us along the journey. So that's all for today, I think, isn't it? Quick introductions, and we hope to see you for the next episode.
See you again shortly.
Bye-bye.
Bye.